Right now, there's a discussion going on about having men take a paternity test and pay child support all the way back to conception. But what happens if the child isn't yours? We've had stories about that before on the Black Prospector Show. We're part of this story where now this guy shows up. And so he says to you that, and I don't know if you made it clear. I hope I didn't miss it. Did he say to you, I could be the father? Because it sounded like he said, I was seeing her at the same time, and then they all came into the house and y'all started chopping it up.
No, he confirmed. He says, no, well, she told me that the baby is mine. Because he had been seeing her. I had no idea who this person was.
We have another one about to come at you now. So let me welcome you to the Black Prospector Show. I'm the Black Prospector, and today we're going to talk about a serious topic. I'm glad to have another man come forward, and he wanted to share his story after hearing the story of Christopher. And you'll be able to find the link to Christopher's story. I guess we'll probably say it'll be right here. You'll be able to find the link to Christopher's story. I'll also put it down in the box below. And I want to say to any other men out there, if you have a story that you want to share that involves maybe some paternity fraud, that involves raising a child that perhaps you later on will find out isn't yours, let me know. And I would like to feature you on the show because these stories aren't often told. And it's often told from a narrative that Papa was a Rolling Stone, wherever he laid his hat was his home. But yet, when we're talking about mothers, it's I'll always love my mama. She's my favorite girl. You only get one. You only get one. Yeah. Can't play that song because, of course, we get a copyright strike. But today, I'm going to introduce you to Jose. And the thing about Jose's story is that it has a lot of detail in it, and it goes, let's say, a lot longer. If we had Christopher's story, which was kind of like, we'll just say one segment of a half-hour sitcom, even though it wasn't funny, we're going to say Jose's story is the whole entire series. So the thing about Jose's story, it also features a little bit about the military. And let me give a shout out to Terrence Pop. Terrence Pop actually is from my old home state. And the thing I love about Terrence Pop's YouTube channel, definitely go check him out, is the fact that he tells stories, especially after what he went through in his marriage, and has a lot of stories in there about military men. And while I wasn't in the military, you all know my brother is on here often. I think that their story really needs to be told because when you have so many guys that you're dealing with, they end up really having a kind of a lot of things that are going on, and they have circumstances that they have to deal with that is certainly, we'll just say, it's a lot more than what the civilian world has to deal with. For example, if I remember correctly, traditionally, after 10 years, in cases of spousal support, I think the wife would get lifetime spousal support, certain things like that. And certainly when it comes to paternity, they are at a much more vulnerable position than guys in the civilian world. So as you listen to Jose's story, and certainly even for the guys in the military, if you want to ever reach out, definitely reach out to me at blackprospector@gmail.com. Definitely, I would love to maybe feature you on the show. We can talk about it because a lot of men have a lot of stories that they tell as they got married, before they went off into the military, or before they went off and got deployed, shall I say. And then the next thing you know, there's a reason why there are so many songs for decades being made about a dude named Jody. And if y'all aren't up on Jody, you can go back and listen to some old songs by the players from the Himalayas that were making songs about Jody having your old lady while you were gone. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Jose. I'm going to let him talk about himself, and he's going to go ahead and give you the background. Hold on. I'm going to try to keep quiet on this one because there are some details that I'm slightly familiar with, but I don't know the whole story. But Jose is going to lay it down, so you get to find out. You get to find out a lot of details that I'm finding out for the first time, and I'm going to try to throw in some questions to him. But otherwise, I'm going to just let this ride. So hold on. And Jose, I'm going to bring you to the forefront. What's going on, man?
Hey, hi, good afternoon, man. How you doing today? And
Brother, I'm good.
everybody that's out there listening.
I'm good. I'm hoping I don't get depressed after hearing what you have to say. I won't say depressed. I'll say pissed off, because these stories do piss me off, to be totally honest with you. But feel free, man. Introduce yourself, and really, I'm gonna let you jump right into it. And I'm gonna just throw in with some questions here and there as you go.
So again, thank you for having me. Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to do this. And after listening to Chris's story, one thing I explained to you, when we were doing our precursor, is that the mind is a beautiful thing. And this is going to come into my story, so bear with me. The mind is a beautiful thing. So sometimes when you experience a significant emotional event or a traumatic event, sometimes the way that you deal with it is to not acknowledge it, or you forget it. And then something again reminds you of it, and so everything kind of comes back to the forefront. So the story I'm kind of going to tell you, there's some incidents that happened that were kind of, I would say, emotionally traumatic. And so when I was explaining to people that I could not remember the details, I wasn't lying, trying to do damage control. I literally at that time, because the proverbial crap hit the fan, I literally had forgotten a lot of details. So like I said, sometimes you hear a story similar to Chris's, and then things start popping up, and that's what happened here. So I figured I'd go ahead and tell it. Want to have the opportunity, and and you provided the front to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So, I'll say, man, how did it begin? What, as I guess we say on every Black man has a story. Jose, tell us your story.
Okay. This one is, it really starts out as something that a lot of, first of all, I was in the military. So this is the one thing that I would, if I'm going to asterisk things along the way about, what would I tell young guys? Because normally I don't remember it after we get done talking. So I'm going to throw asterisk on this. I'm kind of going to be like a preacher and give his text up front. I might say it twice, but chances are I'm only going to say it once. But here's the key point: your friends who let you do dumb shit, they're not your friends. So I'm in the military. I go to Korea and I get reassigned back to Texas. So I'm in that transition period where I'm going through what we call reception station. And what that is when you get to a major base, you kind of stay there for a little while until they get you in process, you get all your equipment, and then they farm you out to whatever unit needs you, or the unit that you're assigned to. So in this particular case, I had just come back from Korea, and I got sent to Texas. And so I'm at the replacement unit, and I'm there with a whole bunch of other brothers. And like I said, we were kind of doing a thing, and I think it was over a holiday weekend when we first got there. So we had no really choice but, to interact with each other. And there's some cool cats. One was from Atlanta, the other one was from Valdosta, Georgia. I can't remember. They ended up being, pretty long-term military friends. But that'll come later as well. So what ended up happening was significant is all these guys were single. And here I am, I'm married with children, and my family's not with me. I'm going to another military installation to get settled and set up before I bring them forward. And I'm hanging with these young guys who are single. And so we're barbecuing and we're just doing, what brothers do, we're bonding. But then, because I had a vehicle, I was the only one with a vehicle at the time. Because I had a vehicle, if they wanted to go out, I was the kind of the one that was taking them wherever they needed to go. So I started clubbing with young guys who were single. And you know what you do when people start doing dumb shit and you're with them, you start doing dumb shit, even though you're not a dummy. So these guys were chasing, doing young guys, single guy stuff. And I fell into that. Now at the time, I was probably 25 years old. I was young. But to give you a background on me, I had already been married 6 years, 6 years or so. I've already had, I had 2 kids. I was married. I was kind of ahead of my time in terms of family. So I get out there, I'm hanging with these cats, and I get caught up in the game. And it wasn't that I thought I was a player, it's just because I was hanging with cats who were playing. So, you know me, I never had game. I got no game, no big deal. So let me back up and bring this full circle. When I was in Korea, because I want to talk about female friends. When I was in Korea, essentially I was a geographical bachelor. So I lived in a multi-gender barracks. So males and females shared the same floor in our barracks, and I became friends with a lot of people there. But some of the ladies there, they knew me. They knew I was married. They knew of my wife. They knew my wife. No big deal. So when they would say, "Hey Jeff, do you want to come by the room and watch a movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And so nothing transpired with those relationships beyond just watching a movie. I was naive in the idea that I was off limits. And because
can I ask just one question real quick?
Go ahead.
You were Netflix and chilling back when it was Blockbuster.
Well, yeah, if you want to call it that, because we know everything we was rolling with at the time was VHS.
Right. But you didn't know. Do you think that the ladies had the intention that because you didn't have game, did they want to hook up with you, but they were just throwing it out there as a possibility? Or do you think it was just really literally platonic because that's how y'all were in the military?
I think in some cases it was strictly platonic. Now, again, in some cases I knew that they were throwing it out there, but because I was married, and the thing about it is, so some people tell me that I'm unreadable. My naivety towards the game didn't make me realize that they were fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So because they were throwing bait and I wasn't biting, they assumed that I wasn't kicking it like that. So like I said, nobody ever came out. And here's the beautiful thing. All the women that I talk about, in that scenario, all of them except one never came out and said anything outright. The only time one ever said one outright, I'm gonna tell you what happened. Her and her roommate, we were real good friends, and they were both going to the club. And they said, "Hey, Jose, if you don't mind, we're gonna give you one of our room keys. That way, if we get split up at the club, if one of us comes back to the barracks, we'll get the key from you. And if we both come back together, we got one key. We'll get your key. We'll get our key tomorrow." I said, "Cool, whatever." So it was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and one of the ladies came home, and so she knocks on the door, and I'm like, "Okay, they come to get their key. We're friends." I get out of the bunk in my underwear and I go to the door with the key because I already know who it is. And who the hell's knocking on the door at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning? And so I open up the door and I just, Kathy. And so Kathy's there. She's like, "Hey, Jeff, Carmen's still at the club, this, that, and the other. I came home. I said, okay, bet. Here's your key. And she said, I need you to do me a favor. I'm like, what you need? She's like, I need you to come down to my room real quick. I'm like, okay, cool. I was like, let me throw on some sweatpants. She's like, no, you don't need to put on those sweatpants, and so that's kind of hot. And I'm like, man, I ain't walking down the hall, in a slip, in underwear. Let me put pants. So I go down there, I throw my sweatpants on. I go down to her room, and then she propositioned me. So now I'm like, no, we can't do this because you drunk. Now, see, this is one thing I did have the mind of other incidents with other people, that some things I wasn't going to get caught up in. And then one thing was, I never messed with a woman who was drunk. So she was drunk. So I was not going to take any liberties with her, because in the morning, if she had any regrets, she was going to be the victim. And the military always saw, if there was an ounce of alcohol involved, she was the victim, or he was the victim, because it cut both ways with alcohol. The military was real strict. So if there's alcohol involved, it was automatically a rape, or, the R word, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, I was like, if, I'm not going to engage in that one. So she ended up getting mad at me about it, but that was the only overt proposition when it came to female friends. And after that, because she put me in that position, we weren't really cool after that. And I don't know if it's because she was salty because I turned her down. Now, a female scorn is a bad thing. I'm gonna come back. That's gonna come up later as well. So that was kind of a learning experience for me. Was, yeah. So go ahead and ask the question.
No, I was just going to say that I think one of the things I tell my sons all the time is that I wish we as men were a lot more, I'll say, discriminating about our time and understand the value that our time has as women do, because women don't really give you an opportunity to waste their time. So either your game was so weak that you were just completely friend zoned by these ladies, where they, kind of like you, the gay friend, and they don't really care because they know you're not going to try to get with them, which no guy that's straight wants to be in that position. Or B, they were willing to spend time with you. Because if a woman spends time with you, women don't like rejection. So yeah, they're not going to be overtly coming on to you until it gets to the point where she probably was like, I just got to make the move. This dude moving too slow. Let me do it. Most women aren't going to be that way. So I'm kind of wondering, even though you were blockbuster and chilling, probably a lot of those ladies did want to get with a brother.
Exactly. So that kind of takes me to my next. So anyway, there was a young lady there, again, another young lady, and she and I always talked, and we talked about intimate stuff, and it just never occurred to me that our conversations were whatever to her. So we never did anything. She always, a movie, this and that, you want to swing by? I'm like, nah, I'm good, or whatever. I was always too busy, and so I never, interacted with her on that, really, on a, a movie level, if you will. So moving forward, I'm in Texas. I'm hanging with the fellas, and we're having barbecues and we're having parties, and I'm in this, that, and the other. And I got my own house, and my wife and my kids aren't there yet. So I'm just doing bachelor stuff. So whatever we're doing. And there was a young lady that I met. She was in the military, and she just ended up being cool or whatever. We just started talking. Initially there wasn't nothing to it. I wasn't chasing or anything like that. It was just, we just started talking. But like I said, looking back, this is the reason why this whole thing is significant. We're just talking. We're just friends. There's nothing going on. One day I'm in a barracks, I was in the barracks, whatever. At the time, the Army felt that because I didn't have my family with me, I still need to have a place to live. So not only did I have a house and off base, I had a room in the barracks. And the only thing in it was a wall locker and a dresser and a desk and a bed. Well, one day I was talking to what do I want to call her? Um, let's call her Patricia. Okay. So one day I'm in a room, I'm talking to Patricia, and there's a knock on the door. And I'm like, all right. So I go open the door. I open the door, and it's Sandy. Sandy is the same chick from Korea who I never watched a movie with, that we always talk, right? So now Sandy and Patricia meet, and I'm like, okay, whatever, we just kicking it. Well, what I did not realize then was there was going to be a conflict between these two women. But right now, I'm not a player. I'm not in the game. Okay. I'm just an observer in the stands watching the games be played. Okay. As time goes on, Patricia and I get closer and closer and closer. Here's what happened. We go out, me and all the fellas, and we tell, I tell Patricia, hey, we're going to the club, XYZ. I'm gonna be there with all my boys. If you got some girls or whatever, ride through. And that's what she did. So she brought a whole bunch of, females that, she worked with. I brought the cats that I was rolling with at the time, and we all met at the club. And we at the club just having a good time. Everybody's dancing with everybody. But somehow me and Patricia end up gravitating, together. I would like to say that the amount of libations that I consumed that night played a particular role in my inhibitions and my poor decision making. I'm gonna chalk it up as I was immature and I was doing dumb shit because I thought I could get away with it, So long story short on that one, me and old girl went back to her place and we kicked it. Okay. So that really, yeah, go.
Just to be clear to our audience, when you say you kicked it, you really did chill. You got in them draws.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Because for the ungame, it might be kicked it. Y'all went back and y'all talked.
No. So we did adult things, okay. And so then that started. That was the beginning of my affair with this young lady, and so that was back in 1994. Okay, I have to throw a date out there because this is a long-term issue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we kicked it. One of the things that is significant now that we know at the time it wasn't, was she was a single parent. And she already had a daughter, and I kind of here's the thing about young dudes and when they start to start chasing after women. So now, okay, let me say this. So now I'm that guy that was sitting in the bleachers. One of the players got injured, and they said, "Hey, we need somebody to fill in. I'm gonna take that guy." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm in the game. I'm playing the game, but I am not a player. All right, I am not a player. So, but I've watched enough basketball to think that that I got skills, and I don't. So I'm outmatched. But anyway, one of the things that was significant, and this is very significant, is she had a daughter, and she explained to me that her daughter of 4 years old, I think at the time, maybe 5, her daughter was the result of a sexual assault by her at the time boyfriend. And we were cool, we were friends, or I thought we were friends, And so, that was the reason why that information came up, that we could have those type of intimate discussions. So it wasn't a big deal, because at the time when she told me that, she was not on my radar screen as a trophy. Well, when that time finally came up, when the club time came up and I had been drinking, all the stuff that she had told me in the past was completely gone, because she was nothing more than a female at that particular point in time. Right. But so anyway, moving forward, so now we have established that, it's convenient. She's single. She has a young child. My family isn't with me. I had, not only do I have a barracks room, but I also have my own place that my family is going to be moving into here soon. And so we were kicking it. And so what I thought was gay in my naivety was, I was nothing more than a male side piece. Okay. Here's the reason why. I am married. She is single. So what she did, and this is this true pimp play a game, is what she did was she gave me uninhibited access to her in the beginning. Right. So I'm like, cool, my ego was stroked and I fell into the trap. Where the first red flag that came up, and I don't really know how to address this on public television. I know we ain't on PBS, but the first time the red flag came up was she was doing an oral act, and I laughed. And she got so mad. Oh. And she's like, why did you laugh? And so I had to come up something like, you just reminded me of a Def Comedy Jam or something where a dude said that it was so good that it just made him laugh,
Why did you laugh?
Because I was like, she sucks. I mean, she's terrible. She was terrible.
Not that she sucks literally.
No, yeah, right. But she was terrible. I'm like, wow. Man, this girl, she thought she had some skills. She don't know that.
Well, most women do think they got mad oral skills and they don't. So
that's exactly. But the thing about it is, her reaction was so immediate and angry that I realized I had made a mistake. But that was my red flag. Was she thought that she was, gifted or whatever, and she was, and I insulted her, and she didn't she wasn't the type of person to say, oh, okay, well, if I'm not doing it to your liking, what can I do to make this better? That's what happened with grown folk in a bed, is if something is not to the other one's liking, you try to come to a compromise, or you try to elevate the other one's game.
Right.
She was not going to be told that she was wrong or didn't know what the hell she was doing. She wasn't going to hear it. I already knew that. So I just had to come up with a cover story. And, so anyway,
especially in their mid-20s. Yeah, mid-20s, exactly. No woman trying to hear that. Nope.
Exactly. So move forward, so we're kicking it. Now, one of the things people are asking is, what initially it was protected. Okay. The other problem with being a player in the game and not being a player is you take other people's word for the shit that they say. So, although I was protecting myself, in discussion, she said that she was on the pill. And so I had gotten so comfortable with our situation that I stopped bringing my personal protective equipment, and I just relied solely on, her.